We never know where life will lead us or what may hinder us along the way. But while every day can feel like one big question mark, it doesn't have to. With the right insights, strategies, and solutions from Western and Southern Financial Group, together we can look ahead to leave the unknown behind.
Mike, we have to address the elephant in the room here. If you're watching on YouTube, you look like a freaking member of NSYNC over there. Can we show? Look at this guy. He's got a freaking nice Nike sweater. It looks like you just bought it an hour ago.
I said it looks like he has a Nike deal because
he might have a Nike. Do you have a Nike deal?
He's got Nike sweats,
that's like the
Nike
goal,
shoes.
What we're trying for here.
Oh, he's got the Nike sweats and the Nike shoes,
actually.
man.
Oh,
that's
okay, never mind.
Nice, dude. You're looking good. And then you handed me.
Yeah.
I got the homeless T-shirt. I think
It's more
borrowed.
by comparison. It's
This
more
is
'cause
not
you showed
good.
up looking
I
like that.
objectively have bad style, and this is. I need help.
I mean, I wouldn't even qualify it as a style. Like, you're just not even trying to.
Yeah, it's low effort.
Yeah.
It really is low effort. I'm gonna get better. Today is the day where I get better. Either way, we said we're gonna open up the podcast.
Today's the first day of the rest of your life.
This day is the first day of the rest of my life. We said we're gonna open up the podcast with stories. People have been asking for stories, personal stories, and this is the one that won. You're gonna tell your arrest story on Wednesday.
Sure.
I will tell the 21st
Alleged
birthday
arrest.
story with my dad now. So the only strip club I've ever been to was in Vegas, and it was on my 21st birthday. But I also, in that same weekend, got kicked out of Treasure Island for life. If you don't know if you've never been to Las Vegas, Treasure Island is a hotel in Las Vegas. How it happened was, in Vegas, it's open container as long as you're not carrying glass. So you could have, tequila and a solo cup and walk around Vegas all day long, drinking pretty heavily. But at this point in time, we're leaving Treasure Island to go grab dinner or something, and I'm probably at like a 6 on a scale to 10 of drunk. So I'm not even that drunk. I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
But you're in that mode where like your friends are like peer pressuring you. And if you haven't been to Vegas, the number one reason why Vegas is as fun as it is, I think that the peer pressure just hits, man. If someone's like, you should do this, it's like, yeah, you're right, it's Vegas. I have to do this. So they say, hey, you should
They have like
jump
a whole
on
marketing campaign.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. So my friends are like, hey, you got to jump on this conveyor belt that takes the luggage up. It'd be hilarious. And like my drunk ass is like, yeah, that sounds awesome. That sounds hilarious. I jump on. It takes me into the building. I'm on there for a minute, maybe a minute. And I'm like, okay, this is lame. It wasn't even a minute, probably like 45 seconds. This is lame. I jump off. I'm walking out. I get tackled by 2 dudes. 2 like guys, security guys, tackle me at Treasure Island. They carry me into this weird ass room in the back. And they're like, hey man, what the hell are you doing? You know this is a felony. I was like, dude, I literally just jumped on the side. I didn't touch anything. You got cameras. You can see I didn't steal anything. And they're like, what room are you in? And my parents booked a room for me. So I was like, okay, his last name is Gayle. And like, nope, don't see it. And I was like, no, I swear, we're staying at Treasure Island. Maybe it was my stepmom's last name is Bennett. Is it Bennett? And they're like, no, you're lying. You're a lying piece of shit. If you were staying here, we'd let it go. But now you're banned from Treasure Island for life. They took a mugshot, dude. I like stood there. I'm like standing there, like drunk, cross-eyed, and they're like, you're banned from Treasure Island for life. If we ever see you on cameras in here again, it's like a trespassing crime or some crazy shit. And I like take my dumbass face, take the picture. I leave. I meet back up with my buddies. I told them, yeah, we're banned for life. We can't stay in Treasure Island. We're not booking another hotel. It's one night left in Vegas. Let's go to the strip club all night. We go to a regular club till 3. And then from 3 to like 8, we're at the strip club, 3 a.m. to 8 a.m. But we can't go to the strip club without my dad. My dad's the money man here. My dad has the cash to let it roll for that long. So he, in the process before this, has drank so much to where he's just consistently either blacked out or passed out. And when he passes out, he pees himself. So the guy's just peeing all over the hotel. It's a disaster. But we go wake him up. Well, I can't go in there. My friends go wake him up. They say, hey, man, we got to go to the strip club. He's like, yeah, sounds good. Comes downstairs. We get a limo. So if you haven't been to Vegas before, if you want a limo to the strip club, they're free. I mean, anyone will give you a free limo to the strip club. The limo says, hey, come on inside. There's a bottle of champagne back there. Let's run it. My dad gets in there, and there's this other guy already in there. He's going on his way to the strip club. And My dad is a very angry person, and my dad thinks he's laughing at him, which maybe he is, but we're all telling jokes regardless.
It's a common theme.
It's a common theme. He thinks he's laughing. Maybe he hates you for the same reason. He says, and his big thing when he was drunk, he was just kept on saying he was going to bite someone's face off. He's telling this guy he's going to bite his face off. He's still laughing. We end up having to hold him back in the limo. Finally get to the freaking strip club. We get in. I don't remember how much it is a person. Maybe it's like $40 a person. My dad just pays for everybody, me and my 4 friends. And then they pay it for everyone to come in. There's like this, like, I would call her the lead stripper. She comes over, sees that my dad's paying for everybody, and she like instantly grabs him by the hand and is like, hey, you're coming to the back. You obviously have the big cheddar there. We end up going to the strip club, doing strip club things. My dad ends up calling me to the back room. He's like, hey, you got to come back here. Hey, you got to come back here. I go back there and he's like, I want you to meet your new stepmom. And he's like telling her that he wants to marry her and all this crazy shit, dude. It is hilarious. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? She's obviously just playing you for money. All this stuff. My dad ends up paying like thousands of dollars just to hang out with this one stripper all night then gets his thumbprint, all that stuff. We finally head back.
The thumbprint, the Gilbert Arenas.
I wasn't able to get my car at Treasure Island because I couldn't walk there. So they had to grab my car, and then my friends end up tying my dad up in sheets outside of the hotel because we couldn't get him into the hotel room. And then he wakes up like tied up in sheets with people taking selfies with him. It was an insane trip, dude. And it's not even all the details I can say. It was an absolute insane trip. My dad never forgets it because he woke up literally like with his face in a sheet, just like, help me. It's so funny.
Well, the part that you really glossed over is the mugshot. Do you have a copy of the mugshot?
I don't have the mugshot.
No.
They didn't give me one. That would have been sick if they did.
It's probably just like, I think they'd use like facial recognition features on cameras, and they'll just
I'm tempted to go there and try and get it.
We should reach out to him.
I'll try and make a play.
Reach out to him from the main account. Be like, hey, do you have...
This is PFF.
Yeah. Do you have Austin's mugshot?
The sum of it is my dad goes harder than all of you. Okay. If you think you can drink him under the table, it's just not true. He'll drink till he dies. It's absurd. And that's not even involving other drugs. Like, he'll do other drugs as well. All right. Let's go ahead and talk now a little Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff trade. A good transition.
Yes.
A good transition. Talk about a blockbuster. I saw this, Saturday night. Like,
I couldn't believe it.
I was absurd.
Yeah.
So Matthew Stafford is traded to the Los Angeles Rams, Sean McVay and the Los Angeles Rams, in exchange for 2 first-round picks and Jared Goff. The obvious question is, did the Los Angeles Rams overpay for Matthew Stafford?
I think so. Some of it's because, I don't know, everyone's like, to get rid of the Jared Goff contract, yeah, they want to get rid of Jared Goff. They don't like Jared Goff there. But I don't all of a sudden, I'm not of the opinion that all of a sudden Matthew Stafford's going to look like Aaron Rodgers did this year. Like everyone said, oh, put a real quarterback in the McVay, Shanahan, whatever offense. Jared Goff at his peak was pretty damn good. Like when he was on, like he has a pretty darn good arm in his own right. Matt Stafford has had talent around him at times. Like it's not like he's not ever had great defenses usually. That's kind of been the theme over the course of his career. But he had an offense with Golden Tate and Calvin Johnson as his number 1 and number 2 receivers. It's a pretty darn good weapons to have for a quarterback. So I don't think he's all of a sudden going to unlock some untapped potential, but I do think he is a step up over Jared Goff.
Absolutely.
And you're a team that has already gone all in. They're already the Saints. They've already given up 5 straight first rounders now. Now it's going to be 7 straight first rounders that they've given up. So you've already mortgaged everything to try to win that one Super Bowl right now, right here and now, in the next couple of years. So why not? That's going to be an incremental change that you're not going to be able to get a quarterback like Stafford else otherwise. So they're all in.
The obvious is that Matthew Stafford is an improvement over Jared Goff. It's the level of improvement is where the cost starts to come into a factor. So what does an improved Matthew Stafford say he is improved in Sean McVay's system? Because I think no one's arguing that. He'll play better football with the Los Angeles Rams and Sean McVay. But what is his ceiling of improvement? Like you said, it's not going to be Aaron Rodgers. Is he a top 5 quarterback in this offense? Is he top 8? Where does Matthew Stafford with this improvement even land?
I think he's going to be 8 to 12. I think it's about where he ends up.
And that's where I feel like it's not worth it. If you're making a trade,
Goff really had bottomed out. Something had gone wrong there with him where he was not good this past year.
I think the relationship was also not good, and that was evident in how kind of that was handled. What are the Detroit Lions doing? What's your opinion of the Lions and the decision they made?
That's the thing is, from the Lions' perspective, this is about as big a home run as you can get.
Yes.
Not only do you have 2 first rounders, I think you didn't want the first rounders this upcoming draft. You want them in the future. As much as people discount future picks in the NFL and that they're worth less, to me, in the Lions situation right now, you want to suck in 2021.
Yeah.
You don't want to be good. because that's how you end up getting your franchise quarterback and rebuilding, because it's just there's not a lot of talent there. There just simply isn't a lot of talent there. You're not going to be good. So you don't want that guy to make an impact right now. You want that cheap talent to be 2-3 years down the road that you can build upon then. That's going to be your window if you're the Detroit Lions. So I love this deal from their perspective. And also you have that kind of like window of, hey, if things bottom out in LA, not that, it doesn't look especially likely. It's still a very talented roster and they have Matt Stafford quarterback. But if things don't go well, that could be a top 10 pick. You're not stuck with the 25th pick, which is what the Rams gave the Jaguars this year. You could get a higher pick than that. It could turn out into something really kind of like the Texans situation with the Dolphins now.
How do you think this move affects their decision at number 7 this year?
That's a good question. I think
because they were mocked quarterback. We did the mock drafts episode last week. They're being mocked quarterbacks by Daniel Jeremiah, Dane Brugler, Steve Palazzolo. Do you think they're going to still go quarterback even with Jared Goff on the contract?
Bet they don't.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I will bet they won't go quarterback. And if I'm them, and you got 3 guys off the board, I wouldn't blame them for not going quarterback. Mm-hmm. Because like I said, wherever you go, it's not going to be good. You're going to be, even if, say, it's Trey Lance, the 4th guy there. Trey Lance, you get him. He's probably not going to start. He's raw. You start Jared Goff. Best case scenario, like just with objectively looking at that roster right now, best case scenario, drafting 10th is I think the best they end up next year. Worst case scenario, more likely scenario, you're probably drafting higher than you were right now, and you have another first rounder next year to where, hey, I'm drafting 5, 6. I can make that play up to number 2, make that play up to number 1 if one of those teams doesn't need a quarterback.
Last piece here on the Stafford Goff trade is how do you think this deal, if at all, affects the Deshaun Watson trade that could be happening here soon? How does it affect his value? Because I said it as soon as it happened. If Stafford is getting traded for 2 first-round picks, this is a bigger conversation. I think there was a report that said the Houston Texans are looking for 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and 2 defensive starters is what this report was. Obviously, that's probably coming from the Houston's brass, and they're trying to inflate this deal. But like, even if it is 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and a player, I think that's a lot.
Yeah, I don't see it's going to be a lot, is what it is. And honestly, I don't think it gets done. If I had to put a gun in my head right now, I don't think they trade him. Wow. I think they call his bluff and say, hey, if you're not going to come back, you're not going to come back. Whatever. We're not going to be held hostage by a player who's under contract with us, sort of thing. Mm-hmm. I think that's what's going to end up happening with the decision makers in place there, and just how much it's going to take again. Like how much you would reasonably take for a quarterback that good. Like I said, if 2 first rounders and a second rounder is what it takes for Matt Stafford, and obviously the Goff contract is part of that, but like Deshaun Watson's contract is more. So like the cap space hit that you're taking on is more, even though you're going to want to keep Deshaun Watson in that case. It's going to be like 4 first rounders at least. So, I
mean, that trade package that was outlined, 2 first round picks, 2 second round picks, and 2 players. The only team where I feel like I want to have the conversation is Miami. Miami has 2 first round picks this year.
Yeah.
Obviously,
you have to have an extra first round. You can do 4. You can only trade 3 years out anyways.
That's true. But in addition to that, I think that their roster compared to New York, who also has 2 first round picks this year, is a way better place to like actually compete with Deshaun Watson in 2021. While if New York, like that roster is still not great. Like they're still going to need a lot of help there. And I think that's why you've talked about it as well. They should go quarterback. They should go quarterback, leverage that jackpot that is a rookie quarterback on a rookie deal instead of going the Deshaun Watson thing, because I don't think they're ready to shoot the moon. Miami might be ready to shoot the moon. Hey, let's wager it all. Let's get Deshaun Watson. We got Brian Flores, a good, well-coached defense, some young players there. Let's try and get it. New York, I think they're better off trying to rebuild this thing a little bit slower and not jump at this opportunity. All right, jumping now to, speaking of opportunities to jumping now to risers and fallers from the Senior Bowl. We did a decent amount of Senior Bowl coverage during the week, but we really didn't want to have major takeaways until we reviewed the All-22, both from the game and from the practices, because I feel like it's easy. A couple routes, couple one-on-ones. You haven't seen football in a while. It's tough, man. It's tough.
I saw like 3 Jamie Newman throws the first day, and I was like, I'm back. And then he looked like shit the rest of the week. So.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and go. We're going to go position by position, riser, faller. I also added some honorable mentions here. Maybe not risers, but like guys who played really well. And, that's a good sign for their stock. Quarterback,
they still rose. Like they're just highlighting the biggest risers.
Yeah, biggest risers. Excuse me. Quarterback, riser, Kellen Mond.
Yeah. It wasn't a great, like Mac Jones was fine. If he went there.
It'd be tough to rise with his current position.
I was going to say, he went there, thought of kind of as that fringe first rounder, like if some of you are desperate, take him in the first round. And I don't think he was anything, it didn't look like anything special there. And I don't think he looked necessarily bad there either. Like it was just kind of solid quarterback play. The kind of like you weren't expecting high-end play and you didn't necessarily deliver at high-end play. So his stock didn't really move. But Kellen Mond, to me, I thought looked just kind of the most steady throughout the week and then made some real deal NFL throws in the actual game itself. Like when the chips were kind of down, you could actually get hit in practice. He looked the best of the bunch. He had a 91.5 passing rate in the game, had the most big-time throws in the practices, the live sessions of the practices throughout the week. I thought his ability to work the middle of the field was the most impressive of any quarterback in attendance. Now, the rest of his game, I'm still not completely sold on, but I went in with a low opinion on Kellen Mond as why he would be a riser to me. I still think third round's probably a little rich, but I could see him then coming off the board after what he did there, somewhere in that third, fourth range.
Faller, you have listed here Jamie Newman of Georgia, but he wore the Wake Forest helmet all week. I don't think he ever got his Georgia helmet because he transferred and then obviously opted out for the 2020 season. The game was bad. Took 5 sacks? It was bad. It was hard to watch almost. And I think, but how much, before you talk about his fall, he was a faller this week, obviously didn't perform well. How much of this was just him having to knock rust off? Like having to like come back to football this way, I feel like had to have been insane.
That's what I was saying, I think last week. I don't know when I said it, but Newman has to, like, the biggest regret of any opt-out has to be Jamie Newman of anyone. Because,
he probably, he did it for the right reasons. Like, you hear him talk about why he opted out and the health concerns and all that stuff. Like, it makes sense. But, like, it's unfortunate. I think someone reached out to me recently and said, hey, how can you have in the draft guide a con that a guy is opting out of the season? Like, that's not his fault. Like, well, but the con is the realism. Yeah, the con is you didn't see him play. It's just like getting hurt. It's not a con that he got hurt. It's a con that we just didn't get to see him play as much. You know, and there's obviously some tied to like re-injury risk and stuff like that. But with opting out, it's like the con is the fact that you just didn't get to see him play football. And his reasoning was obviously valid, but it's just unfortunate the situation we're in.
And especially when it's a position like quarterback, where quarterback is you're performing. It's not like it's not like a skill you can develop necessarily on your own, like reading a defense. You're not gonna align 22 guys when you're at Exos, training all fall. You're just not gonna have that sort of situation. So that to me, him showing up there, looking rusty, it was never gonna look good. But it was even worse necessarily than I even thought. Like I said, he had 6 turnover-weighted plays in practice. That was easily the most of any quarterback in attendance, and then the lowest grade in the game as well. I mean, and just also you have to think about the defense. The defense only can play cover 1, cover 2, or cover 3. That's the thing. It's like it's not super complicated. You should be quick. You should be at least quick, and he was not.
That's tough, man. That's tough. Unfortunate for Jamie Newman. Jumping to running back, there's an obvious answer here. I don't even know if he plays running back in the NFL, but Demetric Felton, UCLA wide receiver, raving about him. Obviously looked really, really good in the one-on-ones. Made that quick transition to playing running back, dropping some weight, playing receiver, and looking good, specifically against press coverage. And people forget he was a former 4-star wide receiver. He was a 4-star wideout and went to UCLA, played wide receiver mostly in the slot in 2018, and then has played running back over 300 snaps in each of the 2019 and 2020 seasons in the backfield. But I love that he's making this transition back to being this kind of slot receiver type. I don't know if it's necessarily going to boost him into like high day 2, but I still feel really confident about him as a round 3, round 4 player.
Yeah, I think that's the thing is that he showed up 189 pounds. Basically saying, I'm not a running back anymore. You're not going to play running back in the
They still gave him some snaps there, though.
They did, nice. But like he came and said, I'm a wide receiver. And honestly, looked pretty good. Like if we're just comparing him to wide receivers, he had the 5th highest grade in the one-on-ones of any wide receiver.
That's awesome.
And winning at all levels of the field. I think he had the 2nd highest top speed of any guy with their whatever tracking chips they use there. I don't know how that works, but he had the 2nd highest one. So that's always a good thing to be on the higher end of that.
They inject them.
And he's shifty as can be, man. Like his suddenness in his routes and getting off the line of scrimmage was very impressive. And so I think he can be kind of that if you're a creative offense coordinator and you have a role where a guy alternates in terms of like jet sweeps, slot, backfields, that sort of thing, he can be that. If we're talking about just in terms of compared to the slot receivers, I still believe, though, he's like, if you just want to play him as slot receiver, I think he's one of the better ones in this class, from what we've seen from him.
Yeah. I was watching a lot of Elijah Moore before the podcast. I really do like him as a slot type too. That's another slot receiver I like in this class.
He's awesome.
All right, wide receiver, riser, Cade Johnson, the South Dakota State receiver.
And no faller for running back. Because
sorry.
Like running back almost never.
How can you fall at the Senior Bowl as a running back? That's very difficult.
You don't do anything.
Wide receiver, Cade Johnson, South Dakota State. I think he had one of the highest win rates in the one-on-ones, and I have two honorable mentions here. Josh Palmer and Amari Rodgers. I thought both those guys impressed me more than I thought they would going in.
I will say there was no guy who last year it was the guy.
KJ Hill.
Mims,
KJ Hill was
Mims and Hill.
Yeah.
Or just Denzel Mims and KJ. Why does KJ Hill not sound right to me? KJ Hill.
I think it's KJ Hill.
Yeah. Ohio State wide receiver. They were just like
different.
Their own class. 2 years ago, Terry McLaurin, Deebo Samuel, both those guys just like didn't lose. No one like that, I don't think, in this year's class, where it was just like, damn, they're putting on a clinic. I don't think any of the guys rose to that level of impressiveness. Cade Johnson, to me, though, legitimate speed. Like, really popped off the tape the way he could get off the line of scrimmage and then just get down the football field. A guy who's undersized is going to need to be, I think he's 186 pounds, is going to need that to be part of his repertoire. But he ended up, like I said, the highest grade of any guy in the one-on-ones so far over the course of the week.
Yeah, he looks really good. That's another guy, too, that I think in the slot, though, right? I don't see him as an outside guy. He's a little bit smaller. But Josh Palmer, too, though, I thought he got off press really well. I thought when he could get in a straight line, he looked fast. Amari Rodgers, I was having doing multiple radio hits about the Senior Bowl. I kept on saying, like, this is a guy that in the slot, again, you feel really confident about his hands. You feel confident about him, winning at the intermediate level, short and intermediate levels. And I do think that's an undervalued piece of an offense right now. Finding a legitimate slot receiver that consistently creates separation. I mean, this is a league where 2 years ago, Seth Roberts was like starting for NFL teams in the slot. Like, you're not getting plus production from your slot receiver if he's not a guy that can create separation, that can move the chains consistently.
I still say, man, Amari Rodgers, 5'9", 211. Someone put him at running back.
Dude, I'm here for it. Faller, Sage, Surratt, the Wake Forest kid. I mean, Chaz Surratt didn't look all that good either, to be honest. And he came in with 30-inch arms. Both the Surratt brothers did not show up to Mobile as expected.
Man, how much does Chaz hate Sage? Because Chaz Surratt, 30-inch arms. Sage, 32-inch arms. That's got to be tough. They're playing the wrong positions for that size difference. But Sage, he's not fast, man. He's just not fast.
And not jittery. He's not quick.
Not shifty. Not fast. Contest catch only kind of guy. Very good in those situations. It's not something I'm going to like bank on as what you're relying at the NFL level, though. I just thought maybe he came back and that's all he knew. He knew that was his biggest weakness. That's all he knew he had to do all fall was gain a little speed, get a little more juice. Showed up and still could not stack guys on any vertical route. So sadly, Sage is kind of a one-trick pony, and that trick is not the most valuable of tricks.
Tight end riser here is Trey McKitty, the Georgia tight end. He won 67% of his one-on-ones. He also had that nice one-handed snag in a team drill for Mac Jones.
Really good hands. Yeah, the most catches actually throughout the practices over the course of the week. I think just solid. Like none of the tight ends were. I thought this is bad to say. Like last year's tight end class honestly looked more impressive in the one-on-ones than this year's tight end class.
That's probably fair.
It's pretty rough.
The best guy there is probably Hunter Long, and Hunter Long's not a guy that's like a legit separator that's going to impress in one-on-ones. Where Hunter Long impresses is when he's like in between two linebackers in zone and just like comes down with it. Yeah. Like he is not built for one-on-ones. And the faller you have listed here is the Ole Miss kid that I think a lot of people like, Kenny Yeboah, but did not have like a ton of success in one-on-ones. I thought people expected him to come in and dominate.
That's what he had to do because he's not a blocker. 6'3", 247. It's not going to be his game. He has to be, if he's going to be a starter for an NFL team, he has to be a pure separator. He has good ball skills. He made a heck of a catch in the actual game itself where he went up and got it. But in terms of getting open, that sort of the shiftiness, the explosiveness it takes, he was not getting open. Great. I didn't think of the one-on-ones.
All right, jumping now to offensive tackle, Dylan Redunz. Big riser, man. He looked really good. I mean, he was kicked into guard and looked really good. I think Dylan Redunz moved the needle there in Mobile.
He was the best lineman in attendance. Like, not even really a debate in my mind. Like, he was excellent. I was very surprised. Was not terribly high on him going in. I thought, like, he still had a good deal of losses on his tape going up against FCS competition. Like I expect a guy at FCS competition. You don't expect him to ever lose. Like he should just be winning left and right. But obviously, that was a year ago. Only one game this year. He did look excellent in that one game. Didn't really get taken advantage of at all, and then goes to Senior Bowl. And man, he's 304 pounds. It's on the lighter end, but his core strength is insane. No one was going through that guy at all the whole week. He was, like I said, the best offensive lineman in attendance. Really,
he never looked like he was
could go in the first round.
out of balance. He was consistently upright, consistently keeping guys in front of him.
I think he could go in the first.
Honorable mention here, I added this guy, James Hudson, Cincinnati. I thought he had really good feet there in Mobile. He handled speed really well. I thought Hudson looked really good as well. Not sneaking into the first round anytime soon, but for a former defensive lineman, he was a former defensive tackle recruit from Michigan who transferred to Cincinnati and played offensive tackle there and played well to go to Mobile and have the success he had. I thought that was really good for his style.
I love Hudson 11-inch hands.
Oh, man.
Those are mitts. That translates along the offensive line. When you have hands that big, makes holding on to guys a lot easier.
Anti-Joe Burrow hands.
Anti-Joe Burrow. What was the guy? There was also the Arkansas quarterback that had to stretch his hands out.
Brandon Allen.
Yeah, Brandon Allen.
Another Bengal legend.
7/8 to 9.
Yeah, good stretch.
Threshold.
Faller. This one was concerning. Go ahead.
I was going to say, they have just when they do high fives in the Bengals quarterback room with Allen.
Brandon Allen and Joe Burrow. Brutal. Alex Leatherwood, faller. I mean, him and I'll tease the next faller, Deontay Brown. Both those Bama guys came in and just did not look all that great. Quincy Roche took his lunch. Quincy Roche took his lunch a handful of times. He got beat by some other guys too. I mean, Alex Leatherwood did not have a ton of wins in the one-on-ones, and honestly, it's a huge concern. He didn't look as fast as he did at Bama. I was definitely surprised by how he performed that week.
Yeah, he had the third lowest grade of any tackle in the one-on-ones, excuse me. It's not good. He just kept giving up the edge. Same stuff we saw against Ojulari, same stuff we saw against Gayle on Chason. Just guys with speed. He just flips his hips too soon and just gives him an easy window to the quarterback. And I feel like it's fixable, but at this point you'd like to see him fix it. I don't know. He does have the length. There's a lot to like. He plays really under control, but man, if you're going to draft him in the first round, you're expecting him to look better than that. So that's not happening, I don't think, anymore.
Biggest riser and soon to be friend of the podcast, I think he's coming on the pod either this week or next week, is Quinn Miners, Wisconsin Whitewater's Quinn Miners. He had the belly out. He was pleading with, I'm going to talk to him about the story. I have to bring it up. He's pleading to Jim Nagy after he broke his hand to let him play in the game. I don't think he was end up able to play in that game. But man, this guy, big riser, not sneaking in the first round. I don't even think he sneaks in the second round, but you could start to consider him round 3, round 4. When he went into the week, probably 6th round, 7th round type of guy.
Oh man, yeah. He had some blocks in the team session where he just pancaked guys 5, 10 yards.
Levi Onwuzurike was getting hounded.
Yeah, just dominant. Had some awesome one-on-ones, 150% of his one-on-ones. Pretty good win rate for a guy who has not faced NFL competition. Has not faced guys at this level. He was facing 275, 60-pound DTs there at Whitewater that are just couldn't hold the candle to what he could do physically. So, yeah, he looked good. Deontay Brown, kind of the opposite. I'm almost surprised that he went there and actually did a full week of practice, because people were high on him after his tape at Alabama. Obviously played a ton at Alabama, and just guys who are not quick, guys who are that kind of phone booth guards, don't look good in one-on-ones. One-on-ones is not where you win. Mm-hmm. You win when you have help to either side of you, and you don't really need to necessarily worry about guys' speed. He had a 34.4 pass blocking grade in practice. Throughout the week, 23.4 in the game. Just that's an issue. That's not where you want to be.
Yeah, man.
You're drafting him highly. And I think he was it Jeremiah's or Brugler's top 50? And it's just I'm not taking a guy. I think it was Brugler's top 50. You're not taking a guard that's that
immobile, struggles with speed that much. Yeah, that's true. I mean, as big as he is, as exciting it is to look at him and think about him next to guys like Mekhi Becton or whatever, you need guys that can produce in pass protection. He did not show up. All right, defensive tackle. I think there's a handful of guys you could highlight as fallers here. I know you have Marlon Tuipulotu of USC, but I don't think Marvin Wilson played all that well. Levi Onwuzurike.
They only invited 6. Yeah. Onwuzurike I could probably add to that.
In terms of underperforming versus expectations, I thought Onwuzurike was going to come in and dominate. I thought Marvin Wilson was going to maybe look a little bit more like 2019 Wilson. But Marlon,
Wilson was fine though. There just wasn't a lot of defensive tackle talent there.
Yeah. And they played him a ton at nose. Like they were playing like you're not even like they were like not even shading him sometimes, and that was kind of interesting. But for the riser, Osa Odigizua, the guy who every time I bring him up, I have to mention, did his background for the draft guide. He has never lost a wrestling match in his career. He like went all the way through high school, and then like the last guy, they talked about it like it was fucking Rocky 2. And it was some guy from Hawaii, I think, and he dominated. Like he won again. Like, and the guy he was facing had never lost either. There was like 2 undefeated juggernauts, and Osa is just a monster. But he had a really good week. He looked really good.
He's good, man. He was, in terms of like prior opinion versus post opinion, one of the biggest risers of any position, because I think in that UCLA scheme wasn't necessarily set up to produce well as a pass rusher. Like he ran at least a lot earlier in his career and some this past season, a lot of like 4-point stance, head up over offensive tackle, and then like 3-man rush. And that's just like, you're not going to create a lot of pressure doing that. And then he goes to the Senior Bowl, highest grade of any defensive tackle in the one-on-ones, 93.7 pass rushing grade in the game. He is an ox, even though he's like 280 pounds. He might be the most stout of the defensive tackles there in attendance in terms of like his lower half. And he was on actually Bruce Feldman's Freaks list, I think, a couple of years ago, because he squats like 750 pounds. Like
he's a monster.
Legs are just insane.
He's also the brother of former Giants edge defender Owa Odigizua.
He's a 3rd rounder back in 15.
I liked Owa coming out too, though.
He's a much different player, like just the way they play.
I mean, they're not playing the same position.
280. That's usually well in the small end. I think he's going to hold up defense tackle like no problem. I'm a big fan of his game.
Nice. And then we talked about the fall arm on Tui Pelosi.
Probably like a 2nd rounder at this point also.
Oh, really? Wow. That's a pretty decent rise.
Yeah.
Love to see that. All right. Edge defender. This guy, watching the one-on-ones back on Huddle, every single time you saw his helmet, he had the white Tulane helmet. He was dominating. Like he was winning every single time. Cam Sample, highest grade and win rate of any defensive lineman there in the one-on-ones. But the concern is still he's on the lighter side.
Yeah, so he's kind of still like a tweener. Like he's 278. He came in at 6'3", 278. And a lot of his wins were from the interior.
When you're not in that phone booth, like you said, with Deontay Brown, because Ellerson Smith, too, the other UNI guy that was there with Spencer Brown, they played him on the interior a ton, even though he's a little bit thinner. And he had a ton of wins, too. But when you're going against guys that don't have that speed and you're leaving them literally one-on-one, you see more wins that way. And it's a big reason why I think they played him inside anyway.
But still, Sample's like, that guy is well built for 274. Like he does not have a lot of fat on his frame at that size. And he's graded out really well, of course, his Tulane career. So that I don't think it's a fluke. Like I think he could be your base end / interior rusher. And like actually, there's a few guys that fall into that sort of category that were there. And I think by the end of the week, I think he was the best one. Guys like Chauncey Golston from Iowa. I think by the end of the week, I'd rather have Sample over any of the other ones.
Wow. Faller, Patrick Jones. There wasn't a guy in the one-on-ones that I think looked worse than Patrick Jones. It was unfortunate to see. And honestly, he went on the interior. He went on the edge. Quinn Miners put him in the dirt. He was having a rough week, man. He did not have a good week.
We weren't even that high going in. He didn't even make our top 100. Some people were calling him a borderline first-round pick heading into the week. That was not borderline first-round pick. And I think the other thing that's kind of almost hurt his stock just as much was he's 6'4", looks long on tape. He only has 32-inch arms, which is not – that's on the short end for the edge in the NFL, despite being tall. Like those are short arms for a guy who's 6'4". And so when like you're not executing your moves well and efficiently, like he kind of has over the course of his Pittsburgh career, sometimes it's because you don't have the length to get it done.
Linebacker, biggest riser, and I think everyone came away with this same take, is Jabril Cox, the LSU linebacker that formerly played for North Dakota State. No star recruit. And so we talked about this before the Senior Bowl, but I think we'll bring it up again. The linebacker versus tight end, linebacker versus running back coverage drills, those one-on-ones, you're not supposed to win. Yeah. Like, you're not supposed to win at linebacker, but he did. At 4 forced incompletions on the week, he had a really, really good time in the one-on-ones.
He was easily, like no other linebacker had more than 1 forced incompletion in the one-on-ones, and he had 4. That's how, different he was. And I really liked his tape at LSU, man. He's not Patrick Queen from an athleticism perspective, but he's a much more seasoned coverage defender than Patrick Queen. I don't see any reason why he's not a second-round pick at the lowest at this point. I'm a big fan of him.
The faller you have here is Patty Fisher, and
yeah,
when you got guys like that who are sticks in the mud in some ways, it's tough to win. Again, it's not only is it already hard, but then you put them on an island like that, and it looks a lot worse.
Yeah, Patty Fisher, he's been kind of, I don't want to say hyped, but like a name for a while ever since like he monster sophomore year back in 2018 for Northwestern. Big throwback type of linebacker, but he can't move. Like his stock it was low to begin with heading into the week. It's not even like he's not going to make the 250 for us here at PFF. You just can't do anything. Can't put that guy in the field out in coverage. 0% win rate in the one-on-ones. The minus 7.5 grade on like 8 one-on-ones, which is like almost a -1 every time. It's pretty bad.
That's rough. It's rough to see. Cornerback, one of your guys, Trey Brown, Oklahoma. He looked good. Physical at the line of scrimmage. I mean, I think everyone was like big on Aaron Robinson going into the week, and he had some physical reps where people got excited. But Trey Brown, best cornerback there in Mobile.
Oh, it was awesome to see. Trey Brown is not a lot of guys can hold up at 5'9" on the outside. You worry about them losing against taller wide receivers at the catch point. He had a pass breakup against Frank Darby, had a pass breakup against Nico Collins, had the most pass breakups of any cornerbacks in the one-on-ones, and had the most picks too of any cornerbacks in the one-on-ones.
Getting picks in one-on-ones is also dumb. I can't believe that.
Yeah, it was. He plays above his height consistently. I think he can stick on the outside. Now, I'm not drafting him before like end of the third. I'm not gonna hang my hat on him being the number one cornerback still at that size, but like he's solid for 5'9", 188. It's a big dude at 5'9".
The honorable mention that I added was Benjamin St. Juste, who I think was a late ad out of Minnesota. He's got good length, 6'3", 201, and like legit put on a show in the game and late in the practice week. I thought he showed up as well. I thought he had a very, very good week. What's your opinion on St. Juste?
Yes, I agree with that. I honestly had like very limited exposure. He wasn't even in the first guide, but he was probably the second best cornerback there in the one-on-ones, and he has that body type that you want.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a 80-plus inch wingspan for a cornerback, which is, ideal. And
Faller, unfortunately, Robert Rochelle.
I wanted to see more from him because he's got one of that like crazy pterodactyl-esque build. It's only 5'11", but almost 32.5-inch arms.
He was a freaks list, wasn't he?
Yeah, 4'3", 40 guy, legit makeup speed, just so sloppy though, man. Like he's just no technique, no feel for the game and the position. Just he didn't win a single rep in the one-on-ones. Sadly.
All right, last position here, and then we'll jump to the Azeez Ojulari interview. Riser Richie Grant, dude. This guy's sneaking into the back of first rounds. Awesome. First round mocks right now. Firmly in the second round at least.
Yeah. Oh, he was awesome. He was safeties. Every other safety there looked like shit in the one-on-ones. It's like they're not used to guarding wide receivers in man coverage. They just aren't, except for Richie Grant. He looked good. Also played excellently throughout the week of practices and the full team drills. Real solid dude. Like he doesn't have any one trait that you're like, that's his best trait, but like can play any single position. Almost Malcolm Jenkins-esque. I hate giving guys the Malcolm Jenkins comp, but like that's who kind of reminds me of watching him, where it's like Malcolm Jenkins isn't the fastest, isn't the strongest, doesn't have the best, wingspan, whatever, but he sees the game and plays the game at a different level than most other safeties. That to me is very similar to Richie Grant, who's just dude's fucking good at football. And he had the second highest grade of any defender throughout the practices this week.
Faller is none other than Florida State's Hamza Nasruddin, who just did not look fast enough. Did not look quick enough.
The biggest faller in my eyes of any guy.
He had the length, he had the body type. I was excited about like what he weighed in at, but when he showed up in the one-on-ones, because they had him doing some cornerback stuff, and it was not good. And even in the safety one-on-ones, it was also ugly.
Yeah, just there's no quick twitch whatsoever. And like I thought some of that on tape, like he never quite was that guy on tape, obviously because he doesn't have it. But like I thought some of that was just like he's a patient player. Like he plays under control, brand football, doesn't miss a lot of tackles, doesn't get overextended. In the one-on-ones, you got to get on your fucking horse sometimes.
Yeah,
and there was no horse for him to get on. He was getting on like a fucking covered wagon.
Man, unfortunate for Hamza Nasruddin. That's going to do it, though, for the Senior Bowl recap. Hopefully next year we do this podcast episode from Mobile, or maybe the drive back from Mobile, because I do not want to spend another Senior Bowl here in Cincinnati. I want to be in Alabama. I want to be at Beats.
I want to be in a in a post of Benjamin Albright at 2 a.m.
Yes,
You
that's
know?
what I want. I don't ask for a lot. I just want to be in those posts. I want to be that guy.
Yeah.
We could be that mistake, to quote Superbad. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump to the Azeez Ojulari interview. Joining the 2-for-1 Drafts podcast is Georgia edge defender, or I guess former Georgia edge defender, Azeez Ojulari down there in Pensacola, training with Exos. Great to have you on the show, Azeez. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you? Appreciate it.
Doing well, man. Probably not as good as you. You're out here training for the 2021 NFL Draft, getting your body right, and coming off of an absolutely absurd performance in the bowl game. I think the Sugar Bowl against Cincinnati, and you went against two very good offensive tackles, James Hudson in that game, and they had their backup come in after a headbutt situation with Hudson. I think his name was Graham Metz, along those lines. You really turned it on once that backup came in. Talk to me about that performance and really how that game unfolded, because you guys had to come back and win that game against a very good Cincinnati Bearcats team.
Definitely. It was a very competitive game. They didn't come out there. They came out there ready to play, really.
Yes.
They were battling from the start of the game. So just the momentum plays, that momentum play at the strip sack, that's what got us into that game, really. Forced the fumble, got the ball back for the offense, then went down, scored, came back again. Big third down stopped them. Just came back. Just once our coach let us rush, it was on from there. Once he let us out loose off that edge, it was over with.
Man, and also, I mean, I do think you have to feel bad for the offensive tackle that came into that game, dude. I mean, let's just call it what it is. PFF is based in Cincinnati, so we have a lot of ties with the University of Cincinnati and talk to them a ton. I'll tell you what. I had a couple texts from some beat writers when Hudson went out with the ejection. They said, buddy, this German kid, Lorenz Metz, is coming in, and it's not going to be pretty. He earned a 14.3 pass blocking grade in that game, according to PFF. You took it to him. It was hard to watch, honestly. It was hard to watch. I'm sitting at home watching the game. I was like, dude, Azeez is about to go in on this kid, and there it went. Did you talk to Hudson, or did you talk to Metz after the game? How'd it go after that?
Nah, after the game, I didn't even talk to him, really.
Yeah, fair. I mean, I bet you that guy left pretty quickly. I'm not going to lie. So another thing I noticed about your tape, too, and I think something I talk about with Mike, my co-host, is that you win with your hands all the time. And I think edge defenders, people flock to guys that are excellent athletes, the Jadeveon Clowney of the world, but guys who can win with pass rush moves, win with hands, really do, take my attention. I think the NFL jumps at those guys as well, because you see so few pass rushers come out of college with legitimate move sets. You're seeing it down there at the Senior Bowl now. Guys don't have counters. Like these guys are only rushing with pure speed, have only beat guys with speed, and now you actually have to learn moves. How much Yannick Ngakoue do you watch? Because your cross chop is up there with the best in college football, and I know Ngakoue's kind of got that mastered.
Definitely, man. I love his game, man. He don't got too many moves. He just stays with the basics, just gets to the quarterback, really. You beat the hands, you beat the man, really. So
I like that.
I love it.
I think that's great. Yeah, you beat the hands, you beat the man. And also, I mean, you're an athlete yourself, man. Former 4-star. Right. I know your brother is too. I want to talk about him a little bit, but you're an athlete down there working at Exos. I know in high school, 340-pound power clean, squatting over 500 pounds. What are you specifically working on right now in Exos? Because I know there's no combine, but I'm sure you're going to do some testing either at a pro day at Georgia or whatever it may be.
Yeah, really just working on the burst, the 40, the shuttle, and the L drill, stuff like that, the vertical, the basic combine drills and stuff, just making sure I up those numbers and be ready to perform. Excellent, really.
I asked Tristan Wirfs, the offensive tackle for the Bucs, in the process, what do you think, which combine drill do you think best represents or is most representative of actually being good on the football field? Specifically at his position, he's like broad jump, because you have to be explosive. You cannot afford to go to the NFL and not be explosive. For pass rusher, I know 3-cone is big. People want to see bend. People want to see lateral quickness. Where do you do you have a feeling for what combine drill you put the most stock in for your position?
I'd probably say the broad, to see how explosive you are too. Broad, 3-cone for sure, and probably the vert.
Yeah. 10-yard split too is growing in popularity. I know that one's 40. A big one. Let's talk about your brother a little bit. So for those who don't know, you have a younger brother, true freshman, I think, at LSU, former 4-star, former 5-star. Let's call it what it is. Who's better, Azeez Ojulari or BJ Ojulari?
I gotta go with me, man. He's up there, though. Yeah,
I mean, this is the next coming of the Bosa brothers, if you will. Azeez Ojulari and BJ Ojulari are coming to the NFL looking to compete for the crown, for the best sibling pass rushers, for sure. So when I talked to Kwity Paye recently, the other Michigan edge defender in this class. I've talked to Jalen Phillips here and there, the Miami, Florida, trying to get him on the podcast as well. I talk about, the edge defender is a lot like corner in that you need to watch a ton of tape on the guys you go against. It's a chess match in a lot of ways. You need to see how they win. Do they use their hands? Do they shoot early? Do they overstep? All that type of stuff is so important. In a given game week, how much film are you watching on your opposition? How much film are you watching on that tackle you're going to go against?
Yeah, I usually watch film every day after the practice of that week. And as soon as that game is over, that Sunday, I'm on the film of the next opponent we got. I'm usually watching it throughout the whole week after practice every day on my iPad, just making sure, and working things that I will definitely will work in the game on Saturday. I can know little tendencies I find from him that I can use and practice throughout the week and use that on Saturday against the opponent I'm going against. So I feel like it really helped me a lot, definitely.
Do you ever turn on the film for yourself? Do self scouting? Look at where you had some successes against certain guys, kind of work at your moves.
Oh yeah, definitely do that after each game. Definitely look at what I could do to improve, what I could do better in this play, this, that. If it's my drop, if it's my step, hand usage, hand placement. Definitely do that after the game. All that.
I want to talk about some of the tackles you've gone against in your career. Playing in the SEC, not all of them are that backup Cincinnati tackle. You play against some dogs as well.
Right.
And I think you had – so some of the guys that you went against this year, Stone Forsythe, the Florida left tackle. You also had Alex Leatherwood of Alabama. Even James Hudson, the guy that did start for Cincinnati, he's down there at the Senior Bowl in this draft class. You've gone against some very good offensive tackles. Who are some of the guys that gave you the most fits? Because you beat them all. You had one of the most productive seasons of any pass rusher according to PFF. But who gave you some of the most fits?
I'll probably say Stone Forsythe was one of them.
Yeah.
And Leatherwood gave me a little bit.
You beat him with the cross chop too, though. There's that highlight that hits Twitter, man.
For sure.
And he's got 35-inch arms. I mean, that guy.
Oh yeah, right.
You beat his hands, he loses 9 times out of 10.
He's
He's got some hands, man. He's got some arm length for sure. But you didn't even bring up this guy, Andrew Thomas. 2019, you're going against Thomas.
Man, that was a battle, man. I love going against because you just know he's gonna bring it every time. He's a competitor. I love it. So am I. So, man, those matchups, man, you get down, man.
I mean, he was the first tackle off the board for a reason, man. Andrew Thomas, definitely. PFF was big on Andrew Thomas coming out. I think he gets a lot better in year 2 as well. Some other Georgia teammates I wanted to bring up because you got some dogs that are going into this draft class considered draft highly. Tyson Campbell, outside cornerback, former 5-star, absolute monster at American Heritage High School there with Patrick Surtain, and then Eric Stokes, former track star that also played well at corner. Talk to me about those two guys and how good that defense was on the back end because of those cornerback prospects.
Yeah, definitely, man. The defense was great. You start with them, really. If you great coverage equals sacks for us. So if they could cover, we can get to the quarterback. So they did their thing. Definitely, both of those tracksters, they're so fast. Like man, those guys' speed is different. It's elite. And they're long. So it's just great having them on our team. Really.
I have to bring this up because I've talked to a handful of Georgia defensive linemen in the time I've been interviewing prospects and those things. And I think it was John Ledbetter, the former Georgia defensive tackle, and he told me in practice at Georgia, he better not have been lying to me. You guys play against the run all the time. You guys practice against the run and play run defense all the time. And there's these practices that he said were called blood days or some crazy
Bloody
shit
Tuesday.
like that. Bloody Tuesdays. That's what it was. Talk to me. Walk me through a Bloody Tuesday because John did it, and now I need to hear your take on it as well.
I mean, it's just really just the most physical practice throughout the week. Basically, Tuesday when you get it in, we hitting each other almost every play. Really, everything we do is physical that day, just to get us ready for the Saturday game. So it's just we do a lot of hitting drills, team run. You hitting in Indy, we linebackers, we're gonna hit in Indy. Just get you warmed up. Fastball starts, we hitting, we thudding. Everything we do, we gonna thud. You gonna thud that day for sure.
That's awesome, man. Well, I want to finish with this. I like to finish interviews, asking these kind of 2 specific questions. What is the team getting in Azeez Ojulari? Kind of your elevator pitch on what you're getting and why are you so motivated to play the game? I think asking people why they're motivated to go to the lengths that you do, to play in the NFL, to go the distance, to watch the film, to work on your body like you are. What are they getting and why are you doing it?
Definitely a team player. You're going to get a hard work, dedicated player that's willing to do whatever for the team and get better. And just always just ball, really just own my craft and work hard at everything I do, really put it all for the team. And I'm really doing this for my parents and my family, my little brother. He looked up to me. So got to set the way, set a path for him as a leader, So just doing it for the family, really. Love them all. So
you set a path for BJ. He's going to take over, man. It's going to be like TJ Watt versus JJ Watt here pretty soon. You better be careful, man. That BJ Ojulari kid at LSU is damn good.
Oh, yeah, he's a dog. Yes, sir.
I appreciate you, Azeez, and I wish you the best of luck moving forward.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
I love that Azeez Ojulari is so big on Yannick Ngakoue because you comped him to Yannick Ngakoue in the guide, and I brought it up because the dude wins with the cross chop constantly. Like, he is big on the cross chop. And the other thing too is a super funny dude, super nice guy that I feel like he's got some good character for sure. And I think the fact that he has the tools and he's already winning with like complex moves, you called him one of the more advanced pass rushers in the class. Is he this guy that sneaks into the back end of the first round? Where do you see him right now?
I'd be hard pressed to see him not go in the first round. I think teams are getting more used to body types like that on the edge and realizing that, maybe he's not going to be all-world run defender, but we'll take a guy that can rush.
He did say he's better than his brother too, his younger brother, the 4-star.
He's going to be
true
good,
freshman. BJ Ojulari is damn good. They said they're coming for the crown. They're coming for the Bosa crown. They think they can win it, or the TJ Watt, JJ Watt crown. Who knows?
I was going to say, I think the Watts own that still.
The Watts probably do own that.
I
heard there's some rumors that we might see JJ Watt traded to Pittsburgh, trying to get the Watt brothers together, turn the wattage up. Who knows? That's going to do it for this episode of 2 for 1 Drafts. Remember, if you want to leave a mailbag question, leave it in the reviews. We have a ton this week. We're going to continue to get to them, but leave a 5-star review with your question for the mailbag podcast. We are no longer giving out draft guides, and here's why. We're making an update to it on Monday. I don't want to give out a draft guide and then add 50 players to it without you, but I will say this. When we do make that update, we're going to open it back up again. We're going to open it up to some draft guides, leave a 5-star review, and DM me a screenshot of it, and we will give out a free draft guide as soon as Monday when the new guide comes out. But until next time, Austin Gayle, Mike Renner, 2 for 1 Drafts.